An economic system is the way a nation allocates its resources. And if you look at the way economic resources are being allocated in America, there's a clear reason why I believe the American economy is stalled. Now, in previous generations, the economic system made sure that the dollars were allocated to men. And when men had money, they pretty much spent it on things that allowed them to build infrastructure and it allowed them to create new products. However, over the last 40 years, the flow of the dollars has gone from the hands of men into the hands of women. And with America's population being more women than men and females controlling more dollars than men, that has led to, the economy stalling because when it comes down to, the way money flows, it's how you spend it that leads to growth. And again, men tend to spend their money on things that will allow them to create businesses, create jobs, create new marketplaces, whereas women are more home focused and more consumer focused, and they tend to spend money on things that are for the home or even worse, for social currency. And that's where, a lot of the money is going these days. It's being spent on items related to social currency. Things like designer handbags, designer shoes, nail salons, hair, expensive dresses. And yes, this stuff, fuels the two-thirds parts of the economy, but it does not lead to any long-term growth. And when you have, an economy that is more gynocentric than, male-centered, you're not going to get the innovation that creates new jobs or opens up new markets for a nation's economic system. And when I look at America's economy, it's got a lot of females working in it. Yes, we have more women working, but again, the money is not flowing, in a way that builds anything. Um, what is the value of social currency? Social currency does not build wealth. It does not increase in value. In fact, social currency, is an intangible that does not, you know, rate does not have any sort of profitability whatsoever to anyone. Now, a group of guys, working at a company, they'll be focused on creating a new app or a new product. Whereas a group of females at a company, they're going to be pretty much obedient servants and they're not going to really be focused on creating, new products or new techniques or new approaches to business. And while they're just there in their jobs, just doing the minimum and, chasing social currency like handbags and shoes, nothing's really growing. And I look at America's economy and I see, this picture where nothing is really growing. If you look at most of the businesses, they're mostly service based, and I don't see, too many people creating, new ideas. Usually men do a lot of the creating, they create new characters, they create new concepts, they create new business models and new business approaches. Whereas again, women, they go to work. Yes, they go to work. They'll sit at a desk, but they really don't really create much in terms of inventions or innovations. They tend to, create things that relate to social currency. And social currency, again, it doesn't really have a tangible value, and it only has a relative value because social currency is only valuable to those who see it as valuable. It does not have, a wealth building value. I mean, an invention has like a computer has wealth building value because you can put patents on it. You can make derivatives of it. You can create different models for it, and you cannot do that with social currency. Social currency, it's cool. You get cool points with people. People like you, but people liking you does not, build value in the business world. It does not help build an economy. And I see in a lot of businesses, a lot of people are more focused on social currency than innovation. I looked at even with education. A lot of teachers are not focused on, creating new techniques for learning, or creating new approaches to learning. Instead, they're focused on social currency. And I believe when you have too many females in a workplace, your productivity is going to slow down, because again, everybody's chasing social currency. Everybody's about having the new Manolos or having the new Nine West than, creating a new product for the marketplace or creating, new ideas or new approaches to reach new audiences. There's no real, focus on this. A lot more focus on social things rather than, hard product. And when you have in a gynocentric economy, you have primarily a heavy focus on this. And I believe that's one of the reasons why the economy, of America has really gotten really wonky, because I look at America's economy, it really has not grown as strong as it should have. And I believe that part of it is that, you have a female oriented workplace, a gynocentric workplace, and that's really stalled, a lot of the economic growth. A lot of the businesses that are opening are female oriented, like your coffee shops, your fast food restaurants. But we really don't see a lot of heavy skill businesses, that really produce products or produce services that can help in the long run. And I look at America's economy, and it's clear to me that the whole thing has shifted, because these days a woman can get a job faster than a man. She can get paid, equal to a man, or even in some cases better than a man, and that's going to have a long-term impact has a long-term impact on the overall economy. Because I look at the way, dollars are being spent in America, and I see this heavy focus on social currency. Even some of the guys, like the simps and the manginas, are getting in on that. That's why they're always going out here buying these expensive sneakers or buying these, big screen TVs every year. And that's not a good, way to spend money. I mean, if you're going to spend money, you're supposed to spend money with a goal of making money. And a lot of times when you have people with a consumerist mindset, and a lot of, especially females with a consumerist mindset, they're more focused on social currency, and social currency does not bring money back to you. When a guy creates a product like a book or a movie or or even a widget, that's going to bring money back to that guy. So he's spending money on something in the efforts to make money, whereas many of your females will spend money on the efforts of getting social currency. And social currency, again, has no value outside of what it is to the people in that social circle. And the people in that social circle will be like, oh, oohing and ahhing and giving, and the person will get cool points over that. But, there's no wealth being built long term for a family or for a person to, have later on in their life. And when you have too many females working someplace, you have that problem going on, in your economy long term, because nobody is creating new marketplaces, new products, and focusing on the things that will help America grow. And I look at America's economy, and it's clear to me, that we really need to get more men back into the workplace. A lot of places that I go outside, I see women, outside here working, and I see men, like myself, out here looking for work. And that's a really backwards picture. But because we have a lot of manginas in management and a lot of simps in management, they don't see anything wrong with that picture. They think that it's okay, because they really want is that smooth world. They really don't want to deal with conflict. They don't want to deal with solving problems. And women, because they're obedient and submissive to managers, they don't want to, rock the guy's boat. They don't want to challenge him. And they'll go along to get along. But that's a dysfunctional thing, because in business, you need conflict. Conflict is how you solve problems. And most importantly, conflict is how you create solutions, because conflict makes it where you have to solve the problem. And whenever you have beta males like your manginas and your simps, they make every effort to avoid conflict. They make efforts to avoid problem solving, and they make efforts to never deal with the issues at hand. Instead, whenever you have a mangina and a bunch of females together, or a simp and a bunch of females together, nothing gets done. In fact, everything just stalls. And that's why I believe, the American economy is stalled, because we have beta males in jobs. We have a high proportion of females in jobs. And that's preventing, the American economy from growing to be the best it can be. Whenever you have, too many females in some place, nothing is getting done. And I've had family members who work in education tell me this to my face, and they'll say, look, you put 3 or 4 females on a project, that project's never going to get finished. Whenever you put 2 or 3 males on a project will pretty much get done. But with the females, they'll spend more time talking about social currency, things that they want to do. They're not really focused on, meeting the goals of the organization. And whenever they spend money, they're not focused on the overall big picture, which is, creating new products, creating new markets. But that's not how women are, naturally wired. Women are emotional, and they're not, thinking about long term. They often focus on short term, and that's one of the big problems. When you think about the American economy, we have everybody focused on short term, and a lot of the people, are naturally wired like this, like your simps, like your manginas, and your females. They're all focused on short term, and that's why nothing is getting built long term. That's why, we haven't created new jobs or created new marketplaces or tried to reach new marketplaces because none of these people have the vision to see, a bigger picture or a larger part of the world or a larger part for themselves in it, or to see, ways to expand so that they can reach new marketplaces. Instead, they're focused on what is right now, what's cool, and being liked. And that's not what a business person does. A business person knows that, they have to focus on, the future. They have to focus on where they want to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. And you don't see that type of vision, from female employees, manginas, simps, and in a gynocentric economy. A gynocentric economy is very, very short term because everybody's only thinking about now. They're not thinking about later. They're not thinking about, how they're going to meet their needs in 5 to 10 to 15 years. They're just thinking about, getting through a day. They're thinking about, doing whatever, the boss tells them. They're not thinking about, approaching this person with things from a different perspective. They're not thinking about challenging, old traditional ideas or, trying to find a different way of doing things. Another big problem whenever you have a lot of females in the workplace is that they're very linear thought process, one way is the only way. They never think that, 3 plus 4 is 7, but 4 plus 3 is also 7, and 5 plus 2 is also 7, and 1 plus 6 is also 7. They only think, one way, and that can really impede your organization's growth. And this is one of the big problems when you hire too many women in a workplace. Nobody really can come up with new ideas because everybody's just thinking about, being obedient and submissive, and they're expecting the males at the top to have all the answers. And that's, again, a dysfunctional and codependent workplace because everybody in an interdependent workplace is expected to contribute. But you don't see that today in America's economy because you have too many women there. And women really, that's the short term is good for the home and managing the kids and the family, but it's not really effective in a workplace. In a workplace, you really need to have a lot of vision. You really need to have a long-term plan, and that's why I believe the American economy has really stalled, and is not growing the way it should grow because we have a lot of people who have this feminine, short-term, gynocentric way of thinking. They're thinking short-term, short-sighted, and that's not constructive, for the growth of America. I look at America's economic system, and really, people need to take, longer, more objective look because when your men aren't working, America really isn't working. Because men, they have that vision, they have that creativity, they have that imagination, and that may sound sexist to some people, but this is the honest truth because men are logical thinkers. That's the way God wired men to be. They're logical thinkers, and logical thinkers think, on a more long-term perspective. They are, more imaginative. They can see better. Whereas an emotional person who's short-sighted can't see things on, long range. They'll just sit there and they'll sprint, and yes, they'll get a quick burst of growth, but long term, nothing's moving forward. I mean, you might move for a little bit, but you're not moving the way you should be moving. And when I look at America's economy, it's just not moving because I believe, again, you have too many females running things and there's no balance. And you really need, men and women working together really to get things really going. And I don't see that. I see a lot of women working, but I don't see men really, out there. And I've seen so many men, unemployed like myself, And if we were in positions, I think the American economy would be doing better. But I look at the economy as it is, and it's just too gynocentric, too female oriented, and it's completely out of balance. And if your economy is out of balance like this, it's not going to grow effectively. You're not going to be able to create new markets for things, and you're going to have people talking about $15 an hour for a Walmart job or a McDonald's job instead of trying to create, new markets and new innovations, because that's another thing that females do, is that they focus on one, again, that linear one way of thinking, instead of saying, we don't need $15 an hour. What we need to do is create, new markets. But because they do not know how to imagine anything, they can't create new markets. So they come up with arguments for $15 an hour at Walmart or $15 an hour at McDonald's, when we really do need, visionaries and people who are creative to create new markets and new jobs for people. And we don't have that, here in America. What we really have is, again, too many females in the workplace, and they're more interested in social currency than building a stronger America. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.